And on a Sunday, my ticket is a one-way. I'm about to play in the sky. I always knew you'd make it one day. Today was such a fun day. And I think I'm the first. I got out, free fly, just the sky and fell in love.
What up, WazzyCircus Radio? Yeah. Today's episode is brought to you by WazzyCircus.com. Galactic track prints, athletic wear, like the shirt I'm wearing today. This is rings. You can get copies of my paintings. And LearnToSkydiveAustin.com, where they combine technology and experience to produce world-class flyers. My guest today is a fiercely driven athlete. He's a friend. He's a mentor of mine. I have watched him focus his drive to become one of the most successful instructors in the world. There's no doubt about that. He's one of the most traveled people I know. And he's one of my best friends, Chris Dixon.
Hey.
How's it going, man?
Good.
Welcome to WazzyCircus Radio, son.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah. Hey, Brazilian coffee. Let's go back to that. You said you smuggled some Brazilian coffee back.
Yeah,
I need it.
like 66 pounds of Brazilian coffee.
How the fuck?
Truth.
That's like a small Brazilian
I
child.
gotta show you the photo. It was strategically organized into a not a carry-on, but a check bag. Yeah, it was wild, and some fine art. So going back through customs, like, do you have anything to declare? Nope.
Nope. You just told the world. All right.
Yeah, that's fine.
It's all fun. Man, so were you down there helping the guys out, or just on vacation?
A little bit of both.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
of course.
Try to mix on those trips.
Yeah.
When you go
Right.
international, take a few days.
Right.
But it was there, a week, 2 tunnels, Brasilia and Sao Paulo, and training some staff, running some meetings, little vacation at the beach, surf for the first time.
How'd it go?
Better than I thought, but it's really hard, man.
I call it paddling, dog.
Yeah, I mean it's
all you do.
97% pain and agony for the chance that you might maybe catch a wave and then get pounded by the wave. Yeah.
You just run into somebody.
Yeah.
Okay. Swimming in them waters down there. There's so many creatures.
Yeah.
Like, you've got to be conscious of this. I
grew up in South Florida on the beach, so I'm like dissonant to it. Right? You can blank it out. It's not such a big deal. But yeah, every once in a while you take a moment and look around. You're like, there's a lot of stuff I don't see. Like
a lot of life.
You've seen those aerial photos of the coastline, right? And they'll show the shadows of like the 100 sharks that are around all those people swimming, and you're just totally fine with it.
Just oblivious.
Yeah.
On our birthday, we were down in Corpus Christi, and we were swimming around oblivious, having fun, and Jackie got stung by a jellyfish.
Did you pee on it?
I was going to.
So
I was cocked her. It doesn't work.
Apparently it doesn't work.
Yeah, so right before she's in pain, she's like, hold on. And then she Googled it. And she's like, don't do that shit.
Yeah, it's a lie.
Yeah, we got that close, man.
Man, I've been stung once pretty bad, and it just sucks. There's no two ways about it.
Right. What's it feel like? Like acid or something?
It's like a fire ant bite, but like spread across a broader region, if that makes any sense.
Does it itch?
Yeah.
Oh, fuck.
Like not right away. I think it itches like the next day.
Yeah. Oh, man. It's an attack.
It's like have you seen that or heard of that tiny, like not microscopic, but very small jellyfish they have in Australia?
No.
It's called the irukandji.
Irukandji.
Yeah, it's like this big,
a
centimeter. And if it stings you, like, you may die. Like you're 2 weeks in the hospital, nothing they can do for you. Just maybe you make it.
That's like a fucking spider in the water.
Yeah, it is. That's a good way to think of it. And they for years couldn't figure out what it was.
Well, like, what the fuck, Irukandji?
Yeah, Irukandji.
Everything in Australia wants to kill you.
Yeah, right? And Africa and maybe Brazil. different reasons.
Right, but yeah. Holy shit, man. Yeah, are you doing the Australia are you doing anything with Australia in the tunnels down there?
Eventually.
Vertical wind tunnels, for y'all don't know what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Chris is the head instructor of all of us.
Actually just got a promotion. It's not public yet, but a couple days ago.
Right on.
Yeah.
Oh, so you moved up, so is Tony gonna slide in, or is there somebody gonna?
So I created 2 new positions in iFLY, and these positions are like regionally based trainers, a lot like what I do, but on a regional basis. And
awesome.
Those 2 positions are posted, and we haven't hired yet.
Okay. Yeah, man. I know a couple people are thinking about it.
Yeah.
I think that's super awesome.
Yeah.
It needs to be done. There needs to be a quality kind of dude walking around, you know?
You know what excites me the most about that, and I mean this truthfully, is finally there's like a career step for instructors, right?
Right.
You can go from being an hourly employee to a lead instructor, build some management experience, and then you can transition up into like what we call multi-unit, like multi-tunnel influencing, salary, managerial
Awesome.
position, and then from there, I mean, you've got opportunities to move laterally if you did want to leave iFLY and have a skill that's on a resume that you could.
Right.
hang
Once
your
you're
hat
in the support center,
Yeah.
you can pretty much move around.
Yeah, for the most part. Yeah.
Well, that's awesome, man. Yeah, I can't imagine dealing with all the tunnels and videos and spots and nonsense just pulling your fucking hair out.
Yeah.
I can't take the shit that happens at our tunnel sometimes. That's
Yeah.
just we have a excellent record right now.
Yeah.
You know?
For the most part, the whole company does. I mean, if you think about it, iFLY flies out like 1.5 million flyers a year, just in the company-owned tunnels. It's 1.5 million. So having like less than one serious injury a year is pretty
Beautiful.
phenomenal.
Yeah.
That
That is awesome.
Yeah, it's cool. And it's a testament to a lot of hard work. But, man, yeah,
A
you're
lot of
right
hard work.
about pulling hair out.
Yeah, like, what are they doing?
Yeah.
Who told you to do that?
Yeah, the challenge is taking a group of people that are, just naturally very wild, fly by the seat of their pants, and then having them behave inside of a set of rules, and then getting them to buy in on that. But for the most part, we're there.
It's a legion of young men and women. It's almost a military force because of the age and the athletic ability.
It's an interesting way to think of it.
It really is. It's like I used to call them Metney's Army. I was like, there's all these guys that would do anything.
Yeah.
Right? We're instructors, like you say. He has an army of talent also that's untapped. People do different things, man.
Yeah,
That's kind of what this show's about. Like you meet very interesting people. That means they've done a lot of cool shit other than what you're doing together. Oh my God, I can't imagine how many guys and gals you've met in the last 2 years. Not even the last 10.
Yeah, I mean, just in the industry, but with iFLY employees specifically, I mean, man, we've got like 360 instructors or something like that now, and on our way to 400 fast.
Right.
I mean, we got like 3-4 new tunnels in the next 6 months in the U.S., so 12 a tunnel, that'll do it.
That'll do it.
Remember, I used to know, even when you came around in 2012, when you started at iFLY, or late 2011, right? Like November,
Yeah,
I think you got
November,
hired
December,
in
yeah.
2011. And even back then, you knew everybody.
Yeah.
Right? You knew where they trained, who trained them, like
Oh
their
yeah,
whole-
instructors, man, they were more rock stars when there were less tunnels. There were
Yeah.
these guys, like
Yeah.
you knew everybody by name in Denver.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
Every skydiver did, and if you didn't know, you were like, oh, he's not in. What I mean?
Yeah.
He hasn't been to the tunnel. And now it's like, fuck, you're an instructor where? Like,
Yeah. Because of the freaking classroom video.
Yeah.
I'm in the actor in the classroom video just for the.
You and I both, my friend.
If we can make it through this whole thing without any video jokes, I'll buy you a beer.
All right. Come on, I can't rip the goggles off.
So,
Hey, fuckers still call me Chris. They come out of the classroom like, hey, Chris, when are we going to, like, what the
sorry.
fuck you think is a general name we call instructors?
but because of that, I'll show up to a tunnel and it's, on a much smaller scale, obviously. I guess it's probably what really, like celebrities go through, and they don't know if they've met someone before because they approach you like they know you.
Right.
Because they see you, they see me every day on the video. So they're like, "Hey, Chris, what's up? How you doing?" I'm like, "I don't know if I can. I don't. You look familiar, but you know." And they're like, "Oh no, we never met. I just see you every day in the video." I'm like, "Oh, okay, hey."
Yeah.
But yeah.
So I used to have the dream that I could sneak into a tunnel and, like, blend in the back and maybe take a class.
Yeah. No.
They're like, you're the dude.
Oh, you're in the video too?
Yeah, all over it.
Yeah,
It's
well, and
terrible.
you've got you just have a way about you and a name in the industry. Everyone knows Waz.
Yeah,
Everybody knows Waz.
no, I can't just walk in anymore.
No. Hey, you're kind of support center now too, man.
I know. I love support center. I love what we're doing. I just believe in what we're doing.
You remember when we used to sit around like years ago and over a beer and just talk about all the things that we should be doing as an organization?
Yep.
Like, finally doing a lot of that stuff.
No, we're doing a lot of it.
Yeah.
It's the ebb and flow, man. It you overdo it and then you figure out what works and you stop doing things that don't work and you lose people along the way, but it's just a growing pain, man.
Man, speaking of losing people, how crazy is it? If I think about the call it the 10 best indoor skydivers that came through in my kind of surge, if you will. When I was competing a lot. Of that group, there's probably 3 or 4 of them left.
Really?
You know, wingsuit base jumping and proximity flying and all that. So
Man, Ty.
yeah, Dave Reeder, recently Ryan.
Ryan.
I mean, the list goes on, right? It just
And
Micah Couch, right?
Yeah. Damn it. Yeah, man.
Yeah.
We're doing Risberg's ass jump.
Saturday, right?
Yeah. Are you going?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. I got his rig.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I fly his rig. I jumped his rig yesterday. I love it. It's,
No way.
Yeah.
He's a good dude, huh?
He's a great dude.
You
He's my mentor from Skydive Dallas years and years ago.
Yeah, that's right. He had a big presence there. And
Yeah. You know,
remember we did that team, right? It was like
Yeah.
Javi and Beto and Ryan.
I had the
and
suit, remember?
that
The
you
supersonic
still
suit.
have the suit, don't you?
It's drop zone somewhere.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
old and worn out, you
I'm
know?
gonna end up being somewhere in like some random drop zone in 3 years, and that suit come up. And
Yeah,
you know?
it's going to happen.
It happened to me once before. I was in, I was Lone Star, so it's not that weird. But
But,
this guy was wearing an old red Firefly suit,
Uh-huh.
you know, with the blue stripe on it. And I was looking at him like, man, is that an old Instructor suit? He's like, yeah. Like, I don't know why. And like, remember it had the lower leg was all Cordura, like, and
Yeah,
the rest
yeah,
was something else.
yeah.
The whole, it's a strange suit. And I was like, man, that suit looks so familiar. I just had a vibe about it. I'm like, whose suit is that? He's like some guy named Chad. You know, I was like, nah. And I looked closer, and because he had taken the stitching out,
Uh-huh.
and it was my suit. It
was
was
your
my
suit?
old Instructor suit. I was like, that's his Chris, man. That's my suit. It's
yeah,
weird.
Yeah. Well, dude, you've been in the industry so long. Just,
Yeah.
you know, I wear your suits.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, which
that's
is
fucking
wild.
nuts. Yeah, it's nuts.
Still don't know how that works out.
Hey, is speed flying?
Mm-hmm.
That's fucked up.
Yeah.
Cause I want to do it
Yeah,
so
me
bad.
too. Me too.
I watch Sparksy all the time. Alan Sparks,
Mm-hmm.
man, living the dream, dude. That smile on his face. I know what it feels like. I
Yeah.
love that shit, man.
Yeah, speed flying. I mean, I guess it's like the same as wingsuit base jumping, right? I mean, you can do it conservatively, but
Right.
the temptation is there to go faster and closer.
Faster, that's exactly what it is. Faster
Yeah.
and closer. Because who cares if you're like flying through space,
Right.
doing that's who gives a damn. You
Yeah.
got to have an object.
Maybe move to Florida and fly with puffy clouds and not. You
Yeah,
know?
right, yeah, man, damn it. Yeah, but see, that takes an aircraft and cash, and it's only one at a time.
Yep.
Dude, if you can hike, it's like as much as you can hike, you can fly.
And you get 2 experiences out of it then, right?
Yeah.
Because you get the hiking element
Oh.
and all that, nature, and then
And you're outside. It's beautiful, man.
Yeah, and if you're with a good crew, then you're having that too. So you have the social element, then you have the climb and all of that cool stuff that comes with hiking, and then you have a speed flyer or base jump at the end of it. It's hard to argue against
beat that,
Yeah,
man.
That's pretty solid. I feel too bad for my parents taking that kind of risks, man.
Yeah.
You know, if I went in, it would tear them up.
But you're talking about base, though.
Yeah, speed flying, I guess, is more conservative.
Yeah, you don't have to go that big.
Mm-hmm.
Which means, you don't have to go that small because the smaller canopies are what's getting the guys, of
Yeah.
course, always.
Of course. So the story's the same for 30 years.
Jeez, I want to go do it so bad.
Where would you go?
The place where everybody gets hurt. That's where everybody's at, you know?
Yeah.
Oh, man, there's this guy. What's his name? If I can remember his name. He's a trans globalist on Instagram, guys, if you want to see him. He's an old skydiver that got into the wings and flying.
Mhm.
Like, not speed flying, but not parasailing. What would you call it? Where you're just, like, in the harness and you're just way up high under the,
Oh,
you know,
isn't it paragliding?
paragliding,
Yeah.
right? So he's, like, in Nepal and, like, in Kathmandu.
Wow.
And they're huge festivals
Wow.
with hundreds of people in the sky. And he's
In the Himalayas.
in the Himalayas.
Mhm.
And he'll hike through villages and he'll vlog, like talking to the little Nepali kids and shit.
That's
It's
cool.
really cool, man.
That's on my list, man, for sure. Is to do at least the summit of Everest. That would be awesome, man.
You know, really?
Yeah,
I just don't have that. I just don't have that.
I love it. You know what I love about it? It's like there's a target, you know.
Right.
And I stopped instructing in 2000, maybe 14 or 15 full time, something
Right.
like that. And I was like just still dabbling, and then slowly, over the course of a year, just stopped instructing,
Right.
like as a day to day. And man, I'll tell you what, it's hard because you're talking about a solid 3,000 calorie day,
Yeah.
on a given day,
Yep.
where you're just burning
Easy.
it. You can eat anything, you can do anything
All day.
Yeah, and then you get a desk, and then it's like,
I bet.
You start gaining weight, you know. And so I was like, okay, I need something to stay engaged and stay motivated. So that's when I started doing triathlons. But the target, like having something to work for,
Right.
is pretty cool. So
Right on. So triathlons.
yeah,
So I know you were biking for years.
that's what I was training for. So
Right.
and it's crazy, man, the amount of hours it takes. Like you have to sit on that seat and climb big mountains and hills, and
Right.
it's painful.
And just push it.
But it's great. It's always worth it at the end.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I've always heard that, you overcome that, you feel like you can do anything.
Man, the first triathlon I did was in Kerrville, and it's like an hour and a half or 2 hours west of Austin.
Uh-huh.
And it was an Olympic distance, so it's like 1,500 meter swim, then a 29-mile bike, and then a 7-mile run. In that order, swim, bike, run.
Swim, bike, run.
Yeah, and so I trained for the swim, but like not as much as I should have.
Right.
In hindsight. But I trained my ass off for the bike and the run. And my strategy, because everyone says you can't make up a lot of time in the water, you make up your time on the bike because it's much longer. And anyway, so I trained harder there. And then they have these guys when you're swimming that are in little kayaks.
Yeah.
They're like lifeguards basically,
Right.
and they just kind of paddle around and they look at people in the water and make sure you're okay. And I had a stroke pattern that I was gonna swim with, and you train that way, and it's like you're breathing, and it's all
Right.
really important, right?
Right.
And I got pumped up, and the group that went before me, because it's like a time stage kind of release, they just went out and started hitting it. So I was like, oh man, I got pumped up, and I got in the water, and I started swimming, and I went way too hard.
You hit it? Oh, I can't
I
do
was
that.
like, honestly, like 500 meters into this 1,500 meter swim, and I had a guy in a kayak just following me. 'Cause, you know,
you blew your loads.
Yeah, yeah.
Triathlon. Oh,
yeah,
done.
and he was just watching me,
done.
and I barely made it through the swim. I
Yeah.
barely made
It's
it.
almost a mile, right? 1,500 is 4,500 feet.
Yeah. It's a little less than, yeah. But it's a long swim, you know.
Where did you swim it at? Was it a lake?
There's like a river that runs through there.
Oh, really?
So yeah, it's all open water, which is different too. Because in the
Right.
pool, you have a line that you
Right,
watch,
right.
right? And the open water, every couple of strokes, you have to look up and see where
right.
you're going. Anyway, so the swim was brutal, and then I made up for it on the bike and the run. But it's a
And
unique thing. man.
29-mile bike ride, is
yeah,
what you said?
yeah.
How's that?
By the time you're done, you're ready to get off the bike.
Right. Oh, fucking sure.
But the weird thing is, right, like you get off the bike and now you feel like you've got bricks on your feet and you have to run 7 miles. You know? But that's an Olympic, right? Then you have or what's considered a half iron,
Okay.
right? No, sorry, it's a quarter iron. Then you have a half iron, which is double that, and then the full Ironman is crazy. You know,
Yeah, it's an
it's a
Ironman.
2.4 mile swim and a 70-mile bike or something. No, it's a 112-mile bike or something, and then a marathon
A full marathon.
at the end of all that. Yeah.
Have you seen these like hyper marathon runners? These guys that run like 100 miles in a couple days.
So
and-
that's like I think the hyper one.
it's not hyper. I messed that up, but it's something like that.
Yeah, you're right. There's a name for it, but it's like a double Ironman, basically.
Yeah.
I don't see that. I think there's like a balance to it where that kind of exercise is actually harmful, right?
Right.
Where you're like, there's no way that's good for your body. You know?
Right.
There's no way.
Or is it? I mean,
I don't know.
our bodies are resilient, man.
You ever see? Yeah, true. But you ever seen someone who does a lot of that endurance training for a significant period of time? Like they just look like it's taking a toll on them, right?
Oh,
I mean,
probably
you're like,
the cartilage has got to be.
and the
just
time in
done.
the sun. I think.
Oh yeah, the
it
leather
looks like
is
it-
just
yeah,
done. Yeah,
exactly that.
You're right. You're right,
Yeah.
man. But those are. I mean, I admire when somebody pushes themselves so hard. Like, they want something
Oh,
so
yeah.
bad. Like your summit, you're going to fucking struggle for that.
Yep.
That's a beautiful thing because
Yep.
people don't do that.
And that's why it's awesome.
That is why it's
It's
awesome.
just having a target, man. Just something you're working towards. You want to end up there, and the journey's the fun part.
Yeah, and then reaching it. Because as soon as you start, it's almost over.
Yep.
Like, no matter what you reach for. Like, and that's just the thing, the first step.
Yep.
You just got to take that first step.
Yep.
Time goes on,
Yep.
Things work out. People just don't take the step, man.
Makes you wonder why, huh?
Yeah, because there's so many like you can do anything
Mm-hmm.
that you think about.
Mm-hmm.
My thing that I found for myself is I don't dream big enough. I always shoot too low, right? I see things that are unattainable, and then I get them. I'm like,
Yeah.
like I could have went for this, I could have asked for that. So now I'm trying to like,
It's kind of like by the time you're ready for it or you get there, you've already developed all of the awareness and skill, so it doesn't seem significant anymore.
You know what? Yeah, because the journey to get there, you've picked up so many skills.
Yeah.
And so many life experiences.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like I was listening to a podcast the other day, and this guy was talking about Elon Musk, and how he wanted to go to Mars.
Yeah.
But on the way to Mars, he built a company that's creating billions of dollars just lifting stuff into space with the rockets he's going to use to eventually get to Mars, right? So, like, the end goal isn't even, he's rocking just from starting. He's got $1 billion company, and that's not even what he was aiming for. So on your journey to get to where you're going, who knows what you're going to create, or what you can come across.
And being open-minded enough to see it when it's in front of you, right?
That's it. That's it. Because if you are too focused, you get tunnel vision on something.
Yep.
Or if you identify yourself with a position and you think that's who you are, then you won't see anything else. You're like, I am this and that's it, right? And you don't want to get stuck in a box. I think comfort's a prison. You know what I mean?
It's a good way to think of it.
Yeah.
Complacency and comfort are kind of like synonymous, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah. Complacency is more like lack of effort.
Yeah, I guess you can interpret it different ways, and I think complacency, just like okay with the status, right? You're fine, you're complacent, like,
right.
Yeah.
I'm saying more like it's too hot outside, I'm not gonna jump. It's too cold outside, I'm not gonna jump.
Yeah.
I'm not, comfort. I'm cool right here. His ship is safe in the harbor.
Yeah.
It's that I don't want to go get wet outside. I'm not gonna run today. Right? I'm comfortable, in the bed. I'm not gonna get up and go work out. Oh, this is so good right here. Right? That's what I mean. Comfort's a prison.
Yeah.
Because if you don't get out of that, you'll never leave it. You'll design your whole life around not moving.
Yeah.
At all.
There's I can't remember where I read it, but I'm not going to quote it exactly, but basically you should be uncomfortable. If you're not being uncomfortable, you're not challenging yourself.
Right.
I mean, that feeling, like, I compare it to, we're talking about triathlons and training. Like, if it's not hurting, you're not growing.
Right, right, true.
And so if it's not uncomfortable, if you're not making yourself uncomfortable, if your palms aren't sweating every couple days for something, then you're probably not pushing yourself.
And if you're not moving around and pushing yourself, you begin to atrophy. Things begin to die. Your body dies.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I read this story a while ago about they were shipping some expensive fish from one side to the other side of, like, China or something. And by the time they got to the other side, the fish were all decaying and dead and not fresh, right?
Yeah.
So they ended up putting a predator in the tank, a small one, with a glass shield between them, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, right?
Okay.
So it kept them active, and they're uncomfortable, and they're moving around, and they get to the other side, they're working out, they're fresh, they're fine.
That's an interesting
Isn't that
thing,
nuts?
huh?
But it was the antagonist or the problem or that kept them alive.
Survival kicked in.
Right. Well, you hear about it when people retire and don't have a plan. They think they just want to hang out. But once you hang out on the boat enough, and then you travel a little bit,
6 months, I'd be bored out of my mind.
done.
Maybe
Done.
even less.
And I was thinking that on the way here. If I could do anything, it'd be exactly what I'm doing. The work is fun. Putting stuff together and solving problems and getting that is where life is at. It's not in relaxation. And, like, we haven't had the kids for like 3 days, and we've been dancing and wakeboarding, and I'm done. I'm ready to get back to the schedule, son. Right?
Well, it's good in small doses, right? You need to unwind.
But you
Yeah,
can't
it's
have
important.
I couldn't exist in a lifestyle like that because I feel like I haven't maximized this day.
Yeah.
I've wasted it on not wasted it. You need to relax. It feels good, but there's so much potential in each second.
There is, man. I always had such a hard time. I grew up on the beach, and I have some friends like, hey, let's go to the beach, and we go, and I'd lay there on the towel, and I'm like 7 minutes of laying there. I'm like, well, now what? I don't want to just lay here.
There's got to be a purpose for this
let's
shit.
go play volleyball or do whatever,
Right.
But I can't. I can't sit still for that long unless I'm like smoked after a long travel trip or something, and then my couch is
right.
I'm gonna log some hours there.
Yeah, and man, my mind. If I have a moment to sit, laptop's out. I'm ready. I'm on it. It's like.
Isn't it crazy how social media and phones especially have transformed downtime? Where like, imagine, what did people do? I don't even remember. I mean, we both lived in the age before. I mean, I had a beeper and a cell phone.
Yeah, right.
But before that, right?
Before that, they would sit and think.
Like the bathroom or whatever. You're sitting there on the toilet, like
magazines, newspapers.
Yeah, that's a good point,
newspapers were the internet.
Yeah.
Right, and you could search what section. It was the sports. I mean, what are people looking at? The newspapers were the internet.
Yeah.
Right. This is crazy. This brings up a weird thought, but the hieroglyphs, right? In in the pyramids, I heard this theory that like they saw it like a movie, right? They would look at it and see a movie. It wasn't like they were reading it. It was like it would spur your imagination to follow that path, and like that's how they read it. And it's really cool, man.
It's wild that no one could break the code of those until they found that Rosetta Stone, right?
Isn't that nuts, dude?
For however many years. No clue.
Man. Do you know the ancient Alexandrian library, I think it was, that the Romans or somebody burned down? No, I'm full of shit, guys, but hey.
We're just winging it.
Hey,
It's fine.
but it contained, they would, like, when you came to Egypt, I think it was in Egypt, man. I think it was in Egypt. They would actually board the boats and copy down any books you had, right? They would board your ship. Hey, do you have any literature? And they would copy. They were after knowledge.
Really?
And they had it all stored in these giant library where Aristotle and all those guys would come down from Europe to study. And then somebody burned it the fuck down. All the books, all the knowledge gone.
It's crazy, huh?
Like, that would never happen to our information, but it could.
Yeah, I mean, it would take a pretty big reset button, but it's possible, right?
Well, I was listening to some tech thing the other day, and they were saying, like, you know how we all have those old laptops sitting around with your photos and stuff on them?
Oh, yeah. I've got a MacBook from, like, 2008 or something.
So if you try to upgrade that, if you update it, it won't be able to read your old photos and files because it's the new
file format.
So it's gone.
Huh. Yeah.
Isn't that nuts? So we
Interesting.
can lose a lot of data. Just because we're upgrading the way we read that data, you might have to. I mean, imagine finding a VHS tape. What the hell am I gonna do with this?
Seen a video of those kids? They hand like a couple 12-year-olds a Walkman and a disc, an old cassette.
Tape, right?
They're like, make that thing make music, and they they couldn't figure out how to get the thing to function. And it was like, wow,
that's funny.
Crazy. I never thought I'd be seeing that.
Man, dude. Yeah, I remember when I thought the green screen typing computers were the fucking shit.
Green screen.
The Macintoshes.
Oh yeah. Remember when we first got them in schools?
Yeah, it
was
was
wild.
it was just bits, and it makes my head hurt thinking about it now. I was an Oregon Trail king, so.
Oh yeah, that's right, that game. That's right.
Man, so where is the coolest place you've been?
Coolest. So.
You've been around the world. Yeah.
Traveled a lot. It's been really cool. You know, it's before I answer your question, I had this cool experience, interesting experience maybe, and I was sitting at the airport, maybe 4 or 5 years ago, and I was on a trip to Bulgaria. Actually, I was getting on the way to go to Bulgaria for this international sport committee plenary meeting, and we were trying to get indoor skydiving off the ground with the FAI, which is the International Air Sports Governing Body.
I remember this. I remember this. I was around for that.
Yeah, you were. And I was sitting there at the airport in Austin. My flight was delayed, and at the bar, and that cool bar that has the stage there. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh,
and they have live music. And
yeah. You can't get by it.
No.
It's so fun.
The Austin airport's transformed so much recently. But anyway, so I'm sitting there, and this guy's sitting next to me, and we start chatting like you do at airport bars.
Right.
And I'm like, oh, what do you do? He's like, yeah, man, I travel for a living. I'm like, that's awesome, because at the time I was just starting to travel.
Right.
And I was like, man, and he was going on and on about how travel challenges his life, and he was like kind of burnt out on it. And I was like, man, I'd love to be in a place where I've traveled so much that like I'm burnt out on traveling, right? And like, sure enough, like a few years later, like careful what you wish for.
Yeah.
No, but coolest place I've traveled, man. It's hard to say because they're all different and special in their own way.
Right. Yeah, so that's an open question.
Yeah, I'd say one of the more interesting places I've been was Far East Russia.
Okay.
So I went to World Cup's in Russia right now, so it's cool seeing that. So I flew into Moscow, and then it was a 6-hour internal domestic flight east to give you an idea of how far east of Moscow it was. And it's this place called Tatarstan.
6 hours.
Menzelinsk. And I was young. I was in my early 20s.
Tatarstan?
Tatarstan. Yeah.
I know, whatever.
Yeah, the name's an accurate representation of what's there.
Okay.
Nothing. And so it's where the 2010 World Championships were.
Okay.
For indoor.
Right.
Or for outdoor, excuse me, for actual
outdoor.
skydiving.
Okay.
And so that was wild. And I was new to traveling, and I had a really picky diet at the time. And it's cool because that trip, I was there for a couple weeks, almost 3 weeks, and I was so hungry I just started eating things I typically wouldn't.
Right.
And
Yeah.
it was the beginning of me like totally expanding my palate. But such
Awesome.
a culture shock. That's why it was so weird. The
Right.
culture was so different than Western culture, and it's hard to explain unless you've been there and like been immersed in it.
Right.
But it was a wild experience. I mean, the competition was adjacent to a big military base.
Uh-huh.
Right, and like 30-foot walls and like Russian military base, right? For American, that's got a lot of association with it.
Right.
And you get a briefing on the drop zone at the start of the competition from them, and they're like, they give you a big map, and they're like, land here, okay, land here, you gone.
Right, you're done.
We can't help you. They detain you for 72 hours and whatever. And sure enough, as it would be, there was big like forest fires in Russia that year. I don't know if you remember. If you're paying attention to competitive skydiving, then that's when they had the smoke on the water article or whatever, and the swoop competition almost got canceled because of all the smoke. So all these forest fires blew smoke over the drop zone. So long story short, don't land on the military base because bad things happen to you. Now we're skydiving, and from 13,000 feet, you can't see the ground because there's smoke covering everything. Right, and you don't really see the ground until you're at like 1,500 feet. And so, sure enough, we had to skydive in that environment, and you got these Russian pilots screaming at you, and there was duct tape on these weird old Soviet aircraft, and like, it's just a wild experience.
Holy
and
shit.
Sure enough, like I think it was the Swiss team, the crew, Canopy relative teams. One of their guys landed off, and they detained him and beat the shit out of him for 72 hours, and he came back all busted up. Missed the competition, by the way.
Fuck no.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh Jesus.
So that was one of the more interesting places I've traveled. But the coolest like overall trip I've ever been on, I'll tell you.
I'm still tripping out on this Russia trip, dog.
Yeah. That's just the beginning, man. Like I don't even know where to
And
go.
what team were you competing with on that one?
The U.S. team.
The U.S. team for
Two-way free fly.
Two-way free fly. What year was that?
2010.
Who was your partner?
Oh, it was 3, right? Because I was doing outside video.
Okay.
Then it was Selwyn Facey.
Yeah, I know
and,
Selwyn.
Derek Cox.
Right on, man.
Yeah,
What was the name of that team?
What were we called? It was Paraclete XP USA.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sponsored by the Wind Tunnel in North Carolina.
Awesome. So okay, place you traveled.
Yeah. So the coolest overall trip I've been on, iFLY partnered with Royal Caribbean Cruise Lines, and years back, probably something like 2014 or 15, and the first ship that we put a wind tunnel on was the Quantum of the Seas. And so the Quantum of the Seas, they build these things in Germany and Scandinavia, and it went from Germany, and they were sending it to China. So it's what they call a crossing. So, but what they do is they'll sell these things. They're smart, They need to get the ship to China, but they're going to sell it as this, fancy vacation to do a crossing, and you go to all these cool places on the way.
So are you going down the southern tip of Africa? There's no way to get through the Mediterranean.
No, you cut through the Strait of Gibraltar.
Okay.
Where Petra is, that cool Indiana Jones place.
Was Ivan with you on that trip?
Ivan was there, yeah.
Yeah, I remember those pictures. I was so jealous.
It's wild, right? Yeah, that's
I was
that trip.
so jealous.
So we had to train their staff. Basically, we ran an instructor course on the ship, and we were working, maybe 4 or 5 hours a day, and port days we'd take off, and it was such an awesome gig. And I met them in Dubai, and then we did like Dubai, Oman, India, Malaysia, Singapore, Japan for a month, and it was a fun experience. And Ivan's a great person to travel with. So
Ivan is a great person. Period.
Yeah,
I need to have him on the show.
He and I are going to Guatemala next month for a week.
For what?
Just to go hike volcanoes and do things.
Yeah. Of course.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I managed to find because he just brought it up a few days ago.
Single guys with no kids get to hike volcanoes in Guatemala.
That's right.
That's right.
Flexibility, man.
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
nice. We'll just walk away from that.
Yeah. No, hey, so best food.
Oh, man. Sushi in Japan. Actually, man, Brazil has amazing food.
Does it?
Yeah. Yeah, they do like a lot of rodizio style stuff, so it's what you'd consider like all you can eat, I guess, but it's different. You ever been to like Texas Day, Brazil, and they give you the card?
Oh,
and you
the
flip
meat card.
Green and red.
Yeah.
And
they
it's
just
like
keep
a
cutting.
meat onslaught from every direction. It's like that, but in a lot of different styles and formats. So
right on.
The food in Brazil is really good. France, really good. Actually, you know what? Belgium had awesome food.
Like what?
Mussels. Yeah, mussels in Brussels. Those are
Mussels in
really good.
Brussels, were they?
Yeah, those are really good. But I don't know, man. Maybe thinking on this. Actually, hands down, Spain.
Spain.
Yeah, best food.
Like what?
Barcelona.
Yeah.
It's a coastal city, which
Uh-huh.
I didn't know actually until I went there. I mean, just all kinds of unique, Spanish food.
Right,
We
right.
even had Italian food in Spain, and when they make like here in Texas, they'll do like tableside guac. Right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Well, they do it in a lot of places, but they do it here, and they'll make the guacamole right next to you. I ordered like a pasta dish in this restaurant in Spain, and they brought out a giant wheel of cheese, like that was kind of carved out, and they tossed the pasta in that wheel of cheese like right in front of me, like steaming hot, and then that was incredible. Yeah.
That sounds fucking delicious.
You know what? I noticed about eating abroad, like even when I'm on vacation, versus eating. Like I'll eat, I eat pretty healthy, and I don't eat a lot, and I don't, I've got my kind of weight stable and all that, so it's not an issue. But when I go to Europe or if I go abroad, I'll eat more because I'm on vacation,
Right.
but I'll lose weight. And it's interesting because it just is something like whatever is going on with food in the U.S. and additives or steroids or whatever.
Oh, okay.
It's a thing. Like
It
it's
is a
definitely.
thing.
So I'll go to, like I said, I went to Brazil and had all this rodizio food.
Uh-huh.
It's like all you can eat, and I'll eat my face off for 2 weeks and lose weight. And I'm like,
Wow.
I'm exercising less. I'm sitting on my ass most of the time, but I'll lose weight. It's wild. So
Is
I don't know.
is it tough to get out? Because I know FITPs are rough and your sleep schedule's off and you get a couple days before you leave. Are you able to experience these places other than the hotels and a nice restaurant?
Yeah, well, so FITPs, being like overnight for instructor training courses and all that, I don't do as much of that anymore.
Right.
So the type
Right.
of training I do is it's more training their management staff or training their lead instructor,
Okay.
and then maybe holding a safety meeting with the whole team where we just set some expectations and do a Q&A and share some
Right.
fun information and try to keep
Right
the
on.
guys motivated. So that's more just 9 to 5. So yeah, the
Yeah.
answer to your question, I try to always make time if
Right.
you're traveling somewhere. Sometimes it's hard. Like I was judging indoor skydiving competitions for several years, and a lot of travel was associated with that.
Right.
Going to these world championships or win games or whatever was going on. And the unfortunate thing about those trips was they were like 12, 13, 14-hour days every day. It's like
Right.
hotel, tunnel, airport, gone. And
Right.
so it's like, oh, you went to Spain on this trip, and how was it? And I was like, man, I saw nothing but a hotel and a wind tunnel.
Right.
Not that that's bad, but
No, not
I
that it's
didn't-
bad, but a lot of guys say that. Like, oh, dude, I didn't do anything. 'Cause,
Yeah.
like, I just got back from China. I was like, oh, what'd you do? They're like, nothing. I didn't have time for anything, dude.
China, though, that's an animal in itself, right? China's crazy because, I haven't been yet. I'm going in September.
Nice.
Yeah, and they're doing their first Asia Pacific international championship competition, and naturally I'm judging, even though I
Good
said
for
I wouldn't
them.
do it anymore.
All right, well, good for them.
Yeah, it's good. So I'm going to China, but everyone that I've talked to that goes there says the food is horrible. Like for Western culture, it's
Right.
really rough, and
I've heard not many positive things about trips to China.
it's probably. The Middle East, I've been to Dubai and Oman, so I don't want to broadly generalize the Middle East unfairly, but even Dubai, which is this mecca for opulence and the whole thing, I don't like it at all.
Right.
And it's just like a cultural thing, and not like extreme where I'm like anti this or that, or not bringing politics or
Right,
religion
right.
into the
No,
whole
just
perspective.
travel, yeah.
Just didn't. I was like, I don't like this, I don't
Right.
like the feel, the vibe. It's just too abstract. So the Middle East and then China, though I haven't been there. Based on what I've heard, the
Right.
very bottom of the list for me on places
Right.
to go.
Yeah, I'm sure it's just a culture thing.
Yeah.
But I'm sure it's a culture thing. Like my first couple hours in New York, I was in Manhattan. I was like, "Fuck this city, man!" Like, but then
Yeah.
once I got in and hung out for a couple days,
Yeah.
I was like, "They're fucking great people. This is
Yeah.
fun. It's just it's just
Man, New York's awesome.
Oh, God,
you got
it's
you
so
got to
much
know
fun.
how to navigate
Dude.
that city to really get it. So
I
it's best to go with people that know
much
it. Oh, I love it, man. You know what? Brooklyn's a really cool place now.
right on. Yeah.
Across the bridge.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
whatever. Like it reminds me a lot of Austin. Like
Okay.
the
The
kind
vibe
of
and-
music,
yeah.
food culture.
I think I met Danny Corradito out there when
Cool.
I was there, and I think we went to we went to Jersey. We went to Jersey and ate some awesome food somewhere and just had
Mhm.
some laughs.
Jersey is a different animal.
It's right across the fucking river.
And totally different than New York.
It's so weird. It's like
And the people are
right
different.
there.
Mm-hmm.
But I think before you had a bridge, that'd be a totally different land.
Right?
Right?
Yeah,
Like, you
it'd
look
be
up, like-
challenging to cross. Yeah.
Well, you just, that would be them. It wouldn't be, they still see them as them. It looked like a giant city to me with a bridge
Yeah.
to the other part of the city.
and it's not.
No, all the
Vastly
boroughs are a little bit different.
That's true.
Yeah, I hung out in Harlem for a little bit for afternoon, got some lunch, tried to see that vibe. It was a weird vibe.
Yeah. Have you been
It's
up
fun.
to Westchester and the Yonkers area where the tunnel is?
Yeah, that's why I was there. I was there
Okay.
for the VR launch.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah,
Yeah, with
yeah.
Mason, right?
Yeah, with Mason, yeah.
Mhm.
But then I had a couple extra days built in to, like, I went to the ranch. That was fucking awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Skydive the ranch.
Yeah, skydive the ranch.
The
5
ranch
otters.
Pro shop.
Just sitting there. Just crazy fun, crazy cool skydivers everywhere. Did a rad jump,
They've
angled
got
flight.
like a Russian presence, right? There's like a big Russian presence at the.
It was like a local presence when I was
Oh,
there.
okay.
It was a random day.
Mm.
Yeah, I hung out in Westchester. I like the tunnel. Those tunnels are fun. Those giant tunnels with the second whoosh,
Yeah.
right? Because Austin doesn't have that second blast. That's fun to fly in, but I would not want to like instruct in that thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, if they go up, they're going up.
Yeah, that's,
Dude, it shoots you. It's like a slingshot to the top.
it's crazy, huh?
Yeah, I was scared of colliding with the vanes, you know?
Yeah, you know what? It's a different style of flying in those too. Like regardless of the characteristics of the air, just the height of the flight chamber.
It gives you more.
Yeah, well, yeah, and it changes a lot of what you do. I think my favorite, and I've those who know me, they've heard me say this before, but I think Atlanta is the best tunnel we have in the system, and it's because of for iFLY tunnels. It's because it's kind of the middle. So you have like your Austin tunnel, which has the what is that 3 meter glass,
Mm-hmm.
right, or whatever that is. Yeah, I think it's 3. Whatever, it's like 14 feet. 14 feet of glass, and then you have like Westchester in New York that I think is 22 feet or something.
Right.
And then in the middle is Atlanta, and for me, it's why when I try to explain it, why I like it so much more is the like lateral versus vertical space. You know, when you're doing all this 3-dimensional flying,
It's more
like,
balanced.
it's more balanced against
It's
the
way
width
more
versus the
balanced
height.
because the cylinder of the height is more speed, not enough time to come across. You're exactly
so
right.
you're diving a bunch and then
Right.
snap flaring to try to, you know.
Right.
So I really like that.
And then Austin, when you're going up, is not you
not
don't go
enough.
up high enough, right?
Yeah.
Because for the distance across. I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Oh, so Atlanta's got it.
And you know the only reason that Atlanta is the height and shape that it is because the hotel that's behind them, behind the tunnel, didn't want to be blocked out from the highway for visibility, so
Oh,
we had a
wow.
height restriction, so they just made one that way.
And it
And I
worked
love
out.
it. Yeah,
Nice.
it's
man.
awesome.
So I was going to ask you what your favorite tunnel was. Worldwide.
Worldwide, yeah. I mean, we've made a lot of improvements in the last couple designs with the 14s. When I say we, I mean iFLY. Has done a great job to create something that's competitive on the world stage for flying quality. Our competitors in Europe, like ISG, has done a really great job with like FlySpot and in Poland. It's
Yeah, that's
widely considered one of the best flying tunnels. And I have a theory about that too. And I this might be hearsay, but what I gathered when I was out there, they had whoever built or owns the tunnel there, because ISG just builds them. They don't own
Right.
any of them, from what I understand. But that company had a deal with a concrete or governmental contract or something where they had access to really cheap concrete. And so this building is just massive piece of concrete, and
Right.
with a tunnel locked in the middle of it. And I think part of all that creates stability, right? Like
right.
it's so embedded in this like bunker. I mean, like if there was war or something, like you'd want to be in that building,
one,
right?
right.
There's no way. And
Okay.
I think something about it just makes the tunnel stable. So FlySpot's really good.
That's funny you say that. I was upstairs the other day in Austin on the 3rd floor, and I was walking, and I was just listening to the building going.
Scream and move and
I was like, this is gonna fucking shake apart one day.
they're a lot more stable than they lead on, but
Well, yeah,
when
I
you
mean,
feel
yeah.
things shaking, right?
Yeah,
When
yeah.
you feel the
well,
building
the whole building,
shaking,
I was like, yeah.
it's letting energy go.
Right.
Which is why I think that big, massive concrete structure
Hold it in, just
locks
solid.
it in. Yeah.
Wow, that's cool.
It's just a theory, and I have
Yeah,
nothing
but-
to substantiate that. It's just a.
No, but I
theory.
mean, sounds good to me.
So FlySpot's really good. I really liked Airspace in Belgium.
Mm-hmm.
That one was really nice.
What about St. Petersburg's tunnel?
So it was in Russia. It was okay.
Right.
You know, like the old Orlando tunnel and some of the R12-foot original, like your Denver, San Francisco. If you fly in certain places and against the wall or whatever, you can do what's
Tunnel
called
shut, yeah.
stalling the
Stall.
fans. And I could stall the fans in St. Petersburg and like pretty easily. But overall,
Okay.
it flew nice. I mean,
Nice.
yeah, it's good. I mean,
Fan stall. I used to use. That's how I got through FITP.
Yep.
Yeah,
stalling
the stall the fan. Chris did my FITP, so like, and this was back in the day when it was just Rusty Phelps and you, and who was the other? There was another T4
Rusty
or examiner
Lewis was an examiner, and then
in Cali. It was the guy we had dinner with.
oh, Randy Ashley.
Yeah,
he
Randy
wasn't an
Ashley.
examiner then.
Oh, okay.
No, maybe he. I don't even know if he is an examiner. No, I think he's just a T4.
T4?
Yeah.
Okay.
Not that that's just. I mean, he's a
Right.
He's an awesome dude. And
Amazing.
really,
Yeah.
Randy Ashley. It's interesting because there's an old school style of flying, and I mean that
Yeah.
respectfully.
Yeah, for real.
But like you see it in Drew Steele.
Drew Steele and what's his name? Nevin.
And Nevin
That-
and Randy's like that, but it all comes from
That
one
ninja
person,
style.
and his name's Carlos Uribe.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're all like of that flying, like very
Right.
very similar, and it's funny how you can track the lineage of flying. You know, it'll be at some point, sometime in the future where that'll be harder to do, but you can watch. I can watch anyone fly in the tunnel, and
Yeah.
I can know where where that style came from. You know.
Hey, you know what? So you were my trainer, so I do have some of your style, and I saw that this trend when Aaron Necessary left and started training Dallas guys, and they came to fly. I was like, you fly exactly like Aaron.
Yep.
You fly, and all the
Yep.
guys I've trained have picked up stuff from me, and they fly just like me. I'm like, oh, you shouldn't do that.
It
Maybe
happens.
somebody better, dude.
It
You
happens.
know,
It's wild.
Yeah, it's wild, man.
And there was a point in time there for a few years, especially like 2015, 16, where, it was like everyone in the system I had like some direct lineage to.
Right.
Like I either trained them or the person that trained them.
Right,
you know?
exactly.
Or like, so like grandfather, now I'm like a great
Right.
grandfather trainer.
Well, Austin, we were the first tunnel to open, right? So
yeah, the new generation, yeah.
So I was there, like, as soon as they get out of FITP, I had to teach everybody in the industry how to drive, teach classes.
Yep.
And then all those guys went out and opened their tunnel. So I could see,
We had a
it's-
cool system back then,
Man,
didn't we?
I was there at the right time.
Yeah, you
That's how I
were.
met all the world-class flyers, because it was the first tunnel like that. So everybody
Remember how
flocked.
busy it was?
We just standing in the door.
Yeah, I think back on like my schedule, and I was running an FITP, so I was working overnight, and then I was in rotation a little bit and coaching, and
Yeah.
so like 7 days a week at the tunnel.
It was
The money
nuts.
was awesome, and it was the whole culture was awesome. And talk about getting burnt out.
Yeah. Couldn't get enough, and then it was like too much. 5 a.m. show-ups.
Oh yeah.
Had to have the run-up done by 5:30 because these guys are standing around, and then
Oh, yeah.
we wouldn't leave till 2 in the morning.
Yep.
I think people wanted to huck.
Yep.
I gotta get
That was
the
it.
fuck out of here.
Yep. Eat, sleep,
Because I
fly,
gotta be
repeat.
yeah, I gotta get back here. I gotta be here at 5 o'clock in the fucking morning.
Yeah.
Scott.
We had some late nights,
Ari.
early mornings, didn't we?
Yeah, oh, it
For
was
for a
awesome.
couple of years there, every night was a Saturday night, and every
It was
morning was a Monday morning.
Awesome. Those
Just
that
like
was
the
glory
cruise ship
days.
lifestyle, by the way.
Right.
Did you go on the cruise ship?
Nope, have
Yeah.
not gone. I can't be away from home, man. That's
Yeah.
we were talking about travel. Like, it sounds glorious. I do want to go these places, but I'm no more than 48 hours away from the house. I'm like, I
Yeah.
wonder what the kids are doing. I know
Yeah.
Jackie's doing something cool.
Yeah, that's understandable.
It's just something. But if we could go together, that'll be a different story. But
Yeah.
right now,
You can do that. They've done that before. Anyway, but the lifestyle on the cruise ship is crazy.
mhm.
Like I say this all the time. It's they have like a crew bar.
Yeah.
It's like under the in the back.
Right.
And it reminds me of that scene from Titanic when like Leo's kind of standing at the top of the stairs. He's like, "You want to go to a real party?"
Yeah, yeah, right,
And they
right.
got, like drums down there and
Yeah.
everything. It reminds me of that. Like it's because that's how it is, man. They're wild and crazy.
I bet.
And it depends because I think, that we have a presence on 3 Royal Caribbean cruise ships, but each one of them have a totally different feel and vibe. I've been
Okay.
on 2 of them,
Uh-huh.
and those 2 are widely different. But if you have a real party crew that, they're not in relationships or whatever, and I say
Right.
they, I mean the sports staff and the dancers and the performers and the
right.
ones that party, then they go pretty hard.
Yeah.
And it's just like, man, I don't know how you could do that for a long period of time.
Yeah, I've heard stories.
You get burnt out.
Yeah, yeah. Hanging out too much, man. You gotta have
There's
a balance,
to
man. You
everything.
gotta have a
yeah.
balance,
There
man.
has to be.
So you were on a show called American Voices, speaking to.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. So I was telling you before we started recording that the
Right.
last time I did something like this, it was like a marketing thing. And anyway, but Senator Bill Bradley reached out, and he does a show on POTUS on SiriusXM called American Voices. And it basically just, similar thing. He had a lot of questions about, me, because as he interviews different people with backgrounds that have cool jobs, who do cool things.
Right,
and,
right.
And he was really interested in the competitive skydiving and the wind tunnel thing, and that it was like a sport. And he's like, I don't understand.
Yeah,
Please
nobody
explain
does.
this to me,
People do not get it.
But here's the coolest thing. So they put me up in Times Square because SiriusXM's like headquarters studio is like just like one block off Times Square, and you can walk to it. And so I had a cool night out, and then the morning show up, and I guess I was just kind of not thinking about the gravity of where I was going. I was like, yeah, cool studio, been around studios, whatever.
Right.
And I'm sitting there in like the lobby area, and it's one of those places where you can't go past the front desk until you get like someone to come escort you.
Right.
And I'm sitting there, and I'm like, cool, and it wasn't really flashy for being a headquarters. It how it was like a Sirius XM thing on the wall or whatever. And I'm sitting on the couch right there, and like again, I just wasn't really getting the scope of what I was doing. I had like kind of a late night too, to be honest.
Right.
And sure enough, Howard Stern goes walking right
Yeah,
past
that's what I
me.
was to say. That's why you had to be escorted.
I was like, Howard's. And then
Holy shit.
that one, the dude that's got the dreads that used to be on MTV, you'd know him if you saw him. He's like always the guy with the mic. Anyway, he went walking by. I was like, oh, wow. Well, I guess I am in the XM headquarters in New York, so it makes sense.
Oh, that's rad.
Yeah, it was cool. He's a cool guy. Asked some really interesting questions.
It's crazy that those are real people,
Right?
They're all famous, but they're just real people.
Yeah.
That's all they are, man.
Yeah.
So you said last time you'd done something like this, but you grew up in this atmosphere.
Yeah. So my dad was in music and television growing up, and he was a producer. He used to do sound on tour for bands, and he produced with MTV, and then, he ended up switching to television, with MTV. It was kind of a music hybrid, and then he did commercials and stuff. Like, they did all of he did Wendy's commercials for
That's
years.
awesome.
Yeah, and I met Dave Thomas and when he was alive, and
so all those musicians and all this. But you wanted to be a pilot.
yeah, right. Yeah, wild. Seriously, it's almost like, I don't want to say embarrassing, but I watched Top Gun a bunch when I was a kid.
Have we met?
Yeah. And it just defined, what I wanted to do. And but aviation, flying, just in general, has always fascinated me, like whatever it is. And so yeah, I got my solo certificate before I got my driver's license. So I was flying airplanes by myself, but I wasn't allowed to drive a car. Yeah. Which I thought was always funny.
That is funny.
And then I got my driver's license and then went off and eventually got my private instrument and stuff like that. So I flew a bunch, and it started getting boring, because like you're just time building and
without a purpose.
Yeah, and I'm flying like G1000, which is like the glass cockpit, which means it's a very, very automated process, and you're just pushing buttons. Right. So I'm pushing a lot of buttons and just sitting there watching my bank account and my ding, like the loan I was taking was just going crazy, and then I was like, man, this is cool and all. And I got another better opportunity with iFLY, and so I didn't follow the aviation track when I was, going that direction. But I ended up, when I worked in the Orlando iFLY, a group of flight instructors from a stunt school, or aerobatic school, called Eagle Sport Aviation out of DeLand, Florida. They came and flew. And they were telling me what they do, and they're like, we have this Pitts S2B and an extra 300S, and a Pitts S2B is like a stunt biplane. Yeah. Badass plane.
Sick.
Yeah, it's sick. And they're like, well, if you want to come check it out sometime, come on up. And at the time I was going to grad school, and if you're a student, they allow you in the club. And the way it works is you kind of buy in, and you're a fractional owner of the airplane, and it's like I forget what they call that, but it's a unique.
It's like a skydive clubs do that too.
Yeah, and it's pretty cool. So, long story short, I got to fly 10 hours in a Pitts S2B, and fell in love with it. And it totally redefined like how I appreciate flying, because it reminded me of, and now at this time I'd been skydiving and indoor skydiving to the point now where competitive world championship stuff like that. Right. And doing the maneuvers in the aircraft was just like doing transitions in the sky. Right, and so you think about doing a sit to head down cartwheel, and like knowing to stop on the horizon and feel the air and like feel balance there. The plane is, you're just an extension of your body. And so the first flight I did with this guy who was like an Israeli fighter pilot in his previous life, and he now was running this stunt school. He's like, before we go up, he's like, all right, so pretty much everyone gets sick the first time if you push it. So, you got to let me know your comfort level. I was like, dude, like hammer it and don't let it stop.
Let's
and
go.
You ain't going to get me sick. There's no way it's happening, right? And
Right.
he's like, no, trust me. I'm like, no, send it. And we did, man. He sent it. And those planes put it on full throttle and just didn't let it go for 45 minutes. And it was out of fuel, so we had to go land.
Did you get sick?
Nope.
Not
Didn't
at
get
all.
sick.
No,
No.
just going for it.
Yeah, and it was so much fun. And he let me fly a bunch. And I learned how to do like hammerhead stalls and barrel
Right.
rolls. And
Right.
I actually G-stalled the plane one time. He got a little scared. You're doing a loop,
Uh-huh.
and then at the bottom of the loop, when you're coming out, if you put too much input, you'll G-stall the airplane.
Oh,
Yeah.
right.
And I
Oh,
did.
you bottom out, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
And you did.
Yeah, but we're at 5,000
Okay,
feet.
good.
But
Yeah,
he's still,
yeah,
he,
still.
he was off the controls completely until that point and took him back. It was like,
Nope.
You're done. You've
Took
had
the
too
grip
much
on the
fun.
knee, buddy.
Yeah, exactly.
Jazz over here.
But he got out and he was like, "Man, you're like a natural." And I tried to explain to him like it's the same thing as flying, But it was a lot of fun.
It's just moving through the air.
hmm
It's just moving through the air.
And you feel the plane, right? You feel the plane responding, and it's just like how you feel your arms in the wind.
Well,
It's the
pilots
same.
fly better in the tunnel sometimes.
It's funny you say that. I was at a pool party yesterday, and this guy's a Southwest captain.
Mhm.
I guess he just took an intended step down to first officer because they have seniority,
Mhm.
and so has high seniority as a first officer and low seniority as a captain. And seniority means you get to choose your schedule and all that. So anyway,
Look.
so he became a first officer. But we were talking about flying, and you say pilots fly better. I've had a mixed experience with it, and we were talking about that. And I was telling him, I'm like, man, it's wild. Sometimes pilots fly like shit, and I'm like, it's literally the same thing. It's the physics are the same. Just don't, you know what I mean? But they
Right.
can't connect mind to body,
Right,
the same way.
Have you done any wingsuiting?
I stayed away from it.
Man, it's an extension of your body. Dog.
Yeah.
And they're pushing the. I've done a bunch of wingsuit jumps to the point
Yeah.
where I got extremely bored with it to where I was frustrated. Like,
Yeah.
why the fuck am I still up here? This is ridiculous.
Yeah,
Right?
It's so long.
Yeah, and I just started.
Well, and you have the mental clock going, right? If you have a couple, you have what,
Yeah.
5,000 jumps or something?
Yeah, 4,000.
4,000, yeah. So you have that many jumps, and you just have that clock in your head.
Yeah.
And it's almost like like they're like 3, 2, 1. There goes my audible
Yeah.
altimeter.
And it's not happening.
Yeah,
You're like,
and
I'm
you're
still
like,
fucking
I'm
up
still
here.
here. It's so weird. It would screw me up.
But those fucking jetpacks.
Man, what Fred and Vince are doing out in
Yes.
Dubai? Well, it's Vince, right? Vince
Yeah, it's
Raffit's
Vince,
doing it
yeah.
mosely. God, that's so.
Breathtaking.
I mean, like,
talk about an extension in your body, dude.
wow.
It's all body.
Yeah.
There's not. It's all body.
I was talking to Vince. Was it Vince? Yeah, I think it was Vince, the one who's in the famous Dubai videos, right?
Uh-huh.
And he was telling me that the first couple times he flew it was terrifying. He like stalled it out and like had
Really?
to fucking dump and
Really?
yeah, it was.
Of course.
Dude,
I mean, it's the Wright brothers, man. This dude,
that. How cool is that though, man? Like that is the cool. It's like for me, like the dream of all things that could be flying.
That is the epitome of all things.
How about that? Not to change it because I think we could talk for hours about those jetpacks, but how about that like wild hoverboard thing now that's out there? You know what I'm talking about?
It's like a drone?
It looks like the Green Lantern flying around.
Oh, really?
You haven't seen that?
No, but I've seen the Dubai motorcycle, so it's probably the same
No,
platform.
it's like
just
this.
stand.
It's like same like kerosene kind of driven jets and it's got like.
Oh yeah! Oh fuck yeah!
and the
That
guy's
is
like,
the shit. Get the
you know?
fuck out of here!
Yeah.
That is the shit.
I watched it. I was like, that's CGI. Like, what-
I always thought it was CGI. I watched
Yeah.
it over and over because
Yeah.
the first one I saw, he was like on a dock or something.
Yeah.
Could you
Yeah.
find- yeah.
And they've got the hand throttle or whatever it is.
Dude, that is the
and
fucking
then you just
shit.
bank it to slam on the brakes.
Dude,
and-
that's future military.
well, right, and transportation maybe.
Maybe.
If you can get enough of an energy source that you can power that,
Well, we got those
no
assholes.
more traffic.
We got those assholes on Segways down in Austin we ran through last night. Have you
Oh,
seen
yeah.
them? There's
Yeah.
people on scooters and
They
Segways.
do the tours, right?
No, there's like personal, like little ones.
So have you
Just
seen
everywhere.
in San Diego? And I was just in San Diego maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago for Nick Flo's T4.
Nice.
Yeah.
Congratulations. Did he get it?
Yeah, he got it. Yeah, he
Mhm.
did a great job. So we were there, and I met with Caleb Campbell. Caleb
Nice.
lives out there now.
He's just going big. What's he doing?
Man, he's just
Diving.
Yeah, I know he's got some small. He's like he's a hustler.
He's
He
an
does-
entrepreneur. Always
yeah,
has
he's
been.
very entrepreneurial.
Yeah.
Anyway, so
Okay, yeah.
they have this thing out there where there's these motorized little scooters everywhere.
Mhm.
And like scooter, I mean, it's like a razor with power, right?
Right, yeah. There's an app. You
There's
can
an
get them
app,
anywhere.
and you
yeah.
walk up, you unlock that one,
They're
and
in
boom.
Austin.
And are they in
They're in
Austin
Austin,
now?
yeah. They're everywhere, and the bikes.
Well, I got on this thing, and I maybe drove 500 feet, and I went out to the beach, the what do you call that? The boardwalk or sidewalk.
Right.
And a cop, sure enough, right away, halt, and he's like, you guys need to be wearing helmets. And I'm
Oh,
like, oh
right.
man,
Oh,
that's gonna
huh.
kill this business model because no one walks around
With
with
a
a fucking
helmet.
helmet, right?
Right,
And
right.
it's like annoying. Anyway, and so the guy was just like, yeah, I'm supposed to write you like a whatever $100 or $200 ticket, and he's like about to start the process, and Caleb's like, I know you, and the guy's like, what? And he's like, yeah, you're an instructor at my flight school. I guess the guy's a
sick.
flight instructor, airplane, and
Yeah.
Caleb's going through, getting more of his ratings because he's already has some. And they were like, oh yeah, what's up? Okay, you guys just get out of here.
Oh, that's awesome.
And we got out of it. But I thought it was a cool business model. But
Yeah, the helmet thing.
Of course, government stepping in, and I guess they've had a lot of people split their head open.
Yeah,
and,
fuck yeah.
And then they're like, now helmets are required, and it's gonna kill that
Yeah.
model. There's no way people are gonna walk around with helmets.
But what up with the bikes, though? Do they require helmets on bikes? Some states do. Because we
Yeah.
have the bikes downtown.
Yeah,
Yeah, man, that jetpack, dude.
it's wild.
And the hover bike. That hover
I
bike.
haven't seen the hover bike.
It's see if we can find the police hover bike in Dubai. It is.
Oh,
it's,
God.
It's the future.
Yeah,
It's like
a Back to the Future kind of thing.
but they don't really like. He just lifts up and like sits there in front of the police force of Lamborghinis, whatever the fuck they got, right?
Bugattis, right?
Yeah, and he's just like hovering, but he doesn't really like take off and do much. So I don't know.
You see that drive-through grocery store they're opening in Dubai?
No.
Dubai is where all this weird shit happens. But I guess now they have like, imagine like a Buc-ee's, like how many gas station pumps they have at those Buc-ee's. It looked like that to me, and you just pull up, and it's drive-through grocery shopping. Like you don't get out of the car.
That was a waste of fucking money. We do that shit from our phones and
Yeah.
just have it delivered.
There's probably more to it. I just
Yeah.
had a glimpse of it too. Oh
That-
wow, look at that thing, huh?
Yeah, that's it. That's it. That's the bike. Hey, so the
I have seen this.
the Israeli military
Mm-hmm.
has created closed engine drones, right? That can for city flying. So
So
instead
the
of
the propellers aren't outboard. They're
right,
like
they can
in,
pop, they can bounce off buildings if they had to.
Yeah.
And so for ambulances.
Wow.
And yeah, so they can land right in the city, open up lots of cargo. The future is amazing.
Can you, man? Wow.
The future's amazing.
It's
But we're
hard
in
to
the.
even
This is
grasp.
the future.
Yeah.
We're in it, right, dude. We can do anything with these phones.
I was thinking about it the other day, and it's kind of a known thing. It's not like people don't but you take it for granted. It's just the accessibility of information
Yeah.
and how it's changed. Like the skill isn't now because it used to be to find something was a skill, right? To know how to
Right.
get information was a skill, and now information you just talk to your phone and it gets it for you,
Right.
right? Like hey Siri, though that's like 50% success rate with that,
Right, but still,
but
it's
still,
there.
right? And now it's the skill isn't so much how do you get the information, it's how do you use what's out there? How do you
Right.
because it's almost daunting to think about everything.
Well,
you
there's
know?
free universities like the Khan Academy and things online
Yeah.
where you can learn anything from microphysics to,
Yeah. Yeah,
It-
and you can watch lectures and
all
the
day.
whole thing.
Podcasts are very, you can learn, you can walk away.
Man, I've become such a huge fan of podcasts. Not to boost this environment, but
Right.
it's something I spent a lot of time on. I studied economics. I got a BA in business economics, and I listened to a podcast called The Indicator from
Okay.
NPR. It's
Uh-huh.
awesome. Yeah, it's
Okay.
really good.
Right on.
If anybody's like trying to get like a grasp of how the economy's functioning, like not so much from a political perspective as it is
But-
from like the pure numbers and like the background, and they do a good job at keeping it politically neutral.
No, that's awesome.
And they just give you information and they break it down in a way that's pretty cool.
And what was it called again?
The Indicator.
The
Well,
Indicator.
it's Planet Money is like the
Okay,
the
I know Planet Money.
Yeah, but they
Yeah.
have a little spin-off. Instead of their 30-minute segments, they do like a 5, 7, 8-minute one.
Okay.
It's more compressed, and it's great for someone that just wants to get some
Right,
basic
something
knowledge.
real quick, yeah.
Mhm.
Freakonomics. Have you
Love it.
Yeah.
One of my favorite books, by the way.
Yeah, I
the
think
original
you had
Freakonomics.
me read it. I believe.
Really?
Yeah, I took a couple books from you once. I think that was one of them.
Awesome, yeah.
And then he
oh
has,
yeah, you did take it from me. That's
yeah.
right.
And they he has a podcast
Yeah.
where they talk.
I've
It's
listened
awesome.
to it.
Yeah.
I was just talking about freaking. It's funny how things pop up. When you don't think about something for a long period of time, and it comes to your consciousness, and then somehow it comes up in like 15 different ways in a short period of time.
Right, right.
It's wild.
Some
But-
universe, man.
Yeah,
That's
it's
why I just say
crazy.
universe. Yeah.
I was just talking about Freakonomics yesterday because we were watching the World Cup, right?
Uh-huh.
And talking about penalty kicks, and one of the original Freakonomics, not Super Freak or like the spin-offs they did after that, but the original one, they do a segment about in the book about statistically the smartest thing to do in a football match or soccer game for the striker and a penalty kick thing is just to go right up the middle, because you have like a 70% chance of making it because the goalie's going to dive left or dive right. They never sit still.
Right.
So if you kick left or you kick right, you're working with odds of whether or not the goalie jumps the right way. But if you kick it right up the middle, you're going to get it every time.
Right.
But what they concluded from all of it, and I'm kind of paraphrasing, it's been a while, but basically it's a social thing. Like the goalie doesn't want to just be frozen and then the guy make it.
So he's got to move.
Yeah, or the kicker doesn't want to kick it and the goalie just catch it in the middle because they're going to look bad. So, it's like for fear of not of looking bad, they won't kick it up the middle knowing that's
So
better.
statistically, do they make it more up the middle than the sides? We'd have to look.
It's been a long time since I read it, but either they were using actual data or theoretical data, but yeah, kicking it up the middle is a significantly higher percentage you'll make it.
Right.
Yeah.
So, man, you indoor skydiving professionally, competed on the professional world level, skydived on the world level. You got your pilot stuff in and out. You're riding bikes, triathlons. What else? What else are you really interested outside of the world of flight, or is there any interest outside the world of flight?
I tell you what, and I play a lot of golf now.
Golf. You've always been into that, though, a little bit.
Passively over the years, but recently a lot more. And it's funny because you think of golf, especially as a skydiver or someone that does a lot of action sports, as being so abstract for that,
Right.
But actually, if you think about the way that we learn to skydive and tunnel fly, especially with videos, and your body has to be a certain shape, and you have to create shapes, and it's taking the video and trying to make your body do what it's feeling like one thing, but it actually looks like another.
Jesus.
And that's the golf swing, man. It's crazy.
Okay.
Yeah, but you know what's nice about golf for me, and what really started getting me into it, it's just something. It's very different.
Right.
And it's like 4 hours hanging out with your buddies. Like I put my phone in my bag, I lock it up, and I don't touch it for 4 hours.
Nice.
And which is nice to do.
Right. Yeah.
And just hang out. It's a little hot right now, but anyway. So golf. I've been playing a lot of golf.
Right on, man. So any interesting fun facts you want to let the world know about Chris Dixon?
Oh man. Let's see. It's a lot of interesting things. Yeah, I wouldn't even know where to begin.
Right
help steer me to an answer
there.
Interesting things.
Yeah. So with your new position, you stepped up. What's on the horizons?
Man, it's funny because I've really taken a shift in the way that I think about professional development and what I find value in that world. With my career, and that shift went from like, how can I grow? And it was very, I don't want to say selfish, but definitely out to succeed. And, I've wanted to climb and of course still do. But for me, it's more about creating opportunities for the people that I'm surrounded by, and that's what these two new positions that we created, why I'm so excited about that. And I mentioned it earlier. Yeah. Because it's awesome, man. It's more about, doing that for the people around you and trying to, be a positive influence on the instructors, especially because there's so many good instructors out there that have the chance to do more. Right. So that's a big shift for me. Not being so much about me as it is about the people I can influence.
Well, that's awesome, man.
Yeah.
That position requires a lot of travel, doesn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, it has to.
It does. It's how it works. Yeah.
Like 50%. It's going to be like traveling every Wednesday, Thursday, Friday every week.
Right.
What I've been doing for the last 4 years.
Right. Yeah.
They're going to do it now, and I'm going to just organize that process.
Well, man, that was fucking fun, Chris. Yeah, dude.
For sure.
I don't get to hang out with you much anymore. We hung out for a while.
Yeah, we did.
Like every day for years.
Yeah.
Then this
life, man.
Yeah, life. Life's good.
It is good.
Yeah, man. Thank you for being on the WazzyCircus, Chris.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Yo, Chris Dixon, man. Check him out. Yo. All right. You guys have a good one. That was fun, man.